U.S. urges WHO to invite Taiwan to observe May Walk. Passengers will get compensation for flight delays and cancellations. U.S. inflation shows signs of moderating. Former Pakistan PM Imran Khan arrest stirs nationwide violence. Air New Zealand to rent beds to economy passengers. Ukraine unit says Russian brigade retreats from the outskirts of Bakhmut. Italy intends to exit China Belt and Road Pact. Trump must pay $5 million for sex abuse.
Hello, I'm Johnny. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It's Thursday, May 11th, and here are your top stories. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Tuesday that the United States is encouraging the World Health Organization to invite Taiwan as an observer at its annual meeting in Geneva from May 21st to 30th. Blinken said in a statement, inviting Taiwan as an observer would exemplify the WHO's commitment to an inclusive, health-for-all approach to international health cooperation. He added that U.S. support of Taiwan for participation is in line with Washington's One China policy.
The U.S. Department of State noted Taiwan's distinct capabilities and approaches, including its significant public health expertise, democratic governance, and advanced technology brings considerable value that can help inform WA deliberations. In a statement, Taiwan's foreign ministry thanked the United States for its strong support for participation, adding that the nation's exclusion is completely beyond reason and harms cooperation in global health.
The Biden administration announced on Monday that it would seek to require airlines to compensate passengers for lengthy flight delays and cancellations that are within their control. The administration said it would start the process of establishing a new rule to require airlines to provide cash payments rather than merely refunds for significant travel disruptions. According to the U.S. Transportation Department, no major U.S. airline currently guarantees cash compensation for delays or cancellations.
According to the New York Times, the Biden administration did not provide specifics about the proposal, such as how much airlines would be required to pay travelers. At the White House, Biden said that his administration would propose the rule later this year. He said, "I know how frustrated many of you are with the service you get from your U.S. airlines." He added, "You deserve to be fully compensated. Your time matters. The impact on your life matters."
Bloomberg reported that U.S. inflation showed signs of moderating in April, giving the Federal Reserve room to pause interest rate increases soon. A Bureau of Labor Statistics report Wednesday showed that the Consumer Price Index rose by 4.9% from a year earlier, the first sub-5% reading in 2 years. Excluding food and energy, the so-called Core Consumer Price Index also cooled slightly. A narrower price measure often cited by Fed officials showed an even more pronounced slowdown.
We can't confront problems unless we look them squarely in the eye.
The report suggests that inflation is cooling as a year's worth of interest rate increases and recent credit stress work their way through the economy. However, overall prices are still rising at a brisk pace and the job market remains robust. Wednesday's report will be one of several that factor into the decisions of policymakers next month. They'll also receive the CPI for May, as well as reports on the labor market and their preferred inflation measure, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index.
Pakistan's anti-corruption agency arrested former Prime Minister Imran Khan at Islamabad High Court on Tuesday, threatening fresh turmoil in the nuclear-armed country as clashes erupted between Khan supporters and police, killing at least one protester. Authorities in 3 of Pakistan's 4 provinces imposed an emergency order banning all gatherings after Khan supporters clashed with police, blocked major roads in a string of cities, and stormed military buildings in Lahore and Rawalpindi.
Pakistani Interior Minister Rana Sanaullah told reporters that Khan had been arrested by the National Accountability Bureau after he ignored notices to turn himself in. He said Khan and his wife were accused of having received, when he was still Prime Minister, land worth up to $24.7 million from a property developer who had been charged in Britain with money laundering. British authorities had returned $240 million to Pakistan in connection with money laundering, but Khan returned the money to the developer instead of keeping it in the national exchequer.
I always needed time on my own. I never thought take your blessings with your heartaches too. So easy and so wonderful to know it's you.
学习，一切从今天开始。Funday 英语。
Air New Zealand said on Wednesday that the airline is installing the world's first sleep pods in a bunk bed zone dubbed Sky Nest on its ultra-long Auckland, New York and Auckland, Chicago routes in 2024. The airline said the Sky Nest will be a 6-pod configured sleep zone that offers sessions for economy passengers to lie down when traveling long haul. The pods will be available from September 2024. However, the price, which will be between $400 to $600 for a 4-hour period, has yet to be finalized.
It intends to provide guests with some incredible and unusual seats that can be transformed into beds.
Air New Zealand said the Skynest will be located between premium economy and economy. Each passenger will be limited to one session, with families traveling on the same ticket able to book a session for each passenger, pending availability. Each pod will include a full-size pillow, sheets and blanket, earplugs, a separate reading light, personal device USB outlet, ventilation outlet, and lighting designed for rest. The bedding will be changed between each session, and a 30-minute transition time will be allowed for this.
The head of Ukraine's ground forces, Colonel General Alexander Syrsky, said Wednesday that Russian units in some parts of Bakhmut had retreated by up to 2 kilometers. Moscow has not commented on reports that its 72nd Separate Motor Rifle Brigade had abandoned positions on the southwestern outskirts of Bakhmut. But Wagner boss Evgeny Prigozhin said that the Russian brigade had abandoned its positions. He said that the 72nd Brigade lost 3 square kilometers and 500 men Tuesday morning.
Ukraine's 3rd Separate Assault Brigade said, it's official. Prigozhin's report about the flight of Russia's 72nd Independent Motorized Rifle Brigade from near Bakhmut and the 500 corpses of Russians left behind is true. Ukraine's Eastern Military Command said the Russian brigade had been heavily damaged, although it said Russia was still trying to capture the rest of the city. Early on Wednesday, one of Azov's founders, Andriy Beletsky, said his forces, formed from the Azov Battalion, had defeated the Russian brigade.
Bloomberg reported Italy has signaled to the U.S. that it intends to pull out of a controversial investment pact with China before the end of the year. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni reassured U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy during a meeting in Rome last week that while a final decision hasn't been taken, her government is favoring an exit from its role in China's massive Belt and Road Initiative. According to people present at the talks, the U.S. has actively pressured Rome to take a public stance on the issue and ditch the pact.
Adding to a string of high-profile Chinese corporate purchases in Europe.
The source said Meloni's diplomatic advisors are still discussing the details and timing of a decision, and nothing will likely be made public before the start of the G7 Leaders Summit in Hiroshima, Japan, on May 19. The People said the potential move is closely linked to Meloni's stance on Chinese investments in Italy and in particular on an upcoming choice on whether to use executive power to curtail the influence of China's Sinochem Holdings Corp., the largest shareholder in tire maker Pirelli and C-Spa.
A Manhattan jury on Tuesday found that former U.S. President Donald J. Trump was liable for sexually abusing and defaming E. Jean Carroll and must pay her $5 million in damages. More than a dozen women have accused Mr. Trump of sexual misconduct over the years, but this is the only allegation to be affirmed by a jury. Ms. Carroll nodded along as a court clerk read the verdict aloud, her nod growing more pronounced as the clerk said Mr. Trump was liable for defamation.
Donald Trump has been ordered to pay writer E. Jean Carroll nearly $8 million.
In the civil case, the federal jury of 6 men and 3 women found that Ms. Carroll, 79, a former magazine writer, had sufficiently proved that Mr. Trump sexually abused her nearly 30 years ago in a dressing room of the Bergdorf Goodman department store in Manhattan. However, the jury did not find he had raped her, as she had long claimed. And the findings are civil, not criminal, meaning Mr. Trump has not been convicted of any crime and faces no prison time.
Now let's take a look at the vocabulary of the news of Italy intending to exit China Belt and Road Pact. Number 1, reassure. 使安心，打消什么的疑虑。The doctor reassured him that there was nothing seriously wrong. Number 2, initiative. 倡议新方案。 Government initiatives to help young people have been inadequate. Number 3, stance, 观点、态度、立场. What is the newspaper's stance on the war? Number 4, ditch, 摆脱、抛弃、丢弃. The new road building program has been ditched. And that's all for today's Funday news. Be sure to tune into Funday news from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Johnny Wu, your host. I will see you next time.